Today we talk about how soon can you try getting pregnant after having a miscarriage. I'm Dr. Mark Amols, and this is Taco Bout Fertility Tuesday. One of the toughest things that can occur after getting pregnant is having a miscarriage. And for those of us who went through infertility, it can even be more devastating. Because for us, it's not just a miscarriage. It's failure of the treatment we did, which means we have to go through more treatment. And if that was our only embryo, then maybe we'll never get pregnant again. And so for many of us, we want to start as soon as possible, but the question is, can you? In this episode of Taco Bout Fertility Tuesday, we'll be discussing the medical and emotional aspects of trying to conceive after a miscarriage. We'll share some insights and some studies that can help guide you on this next step. I think first, we need to acknowledge that a miscarriage can be an incredibly difficult experience, both physically and emotionally. My heart goes out to those who have gone through this tough time. I remember as a medical student, I was told by a doctor after a miscarriage of a patient that they had to wait at least 3 months before trying to get pregnant again. And me being the annoying, inquisitive person, I said, why? And he said, well, because it can hurt their chances of getting pregnant again. And I said, well, why? So I don't know, it's just that's the way it is. And so that's how it was. As a matter of fact, probably every OB/GYN who has been trained has been told the same thing when they were training. But I questioned it. It didn't make sense to me. If the lining of the uterus is what is shed during the period, then technically wouldn't the lining be ready if you had a period to start again? What harm would be to start again? Now, I should be told I was a very annoying medical student and resident because I always asked why. I never would take the answer just because as a valid answer. I had to know why because that's the way my brain worked. And so I looked into this a little further. And what I found is there was actually no data that showed that someone can't get pregnant right away. Now, we're talking about just very basic miscarriages. I'm not talking about ectopics where people had to take methotrexate or other situations. The more and more I delved, I found out that basically this has just been passed along from doctor to doctor, telling other doctors that they need to wait. And if you think about it, it doesn't make sense. The lining of the uterus is what builds up at the beginning of the month. And when it sheds, you're starting with a brand new lining. So there can't be anything held back that would cause a problem unless there was something such as tissue left behind or some type of medication that you were exposed to that we were worried that could affect it. And so, interesting enough, a study did come out in 2010, and it was published in the British Medical Journal, and they found that women who conceived within 6 months of miscarriage had a lower risk of a subsequent miscarriage compared to those who waited longer. And what they stated in these studies is that there was no repercussions by trying to get pregnant right away. So the one thing you can step away from is that you can try to get pregnant right away if you've just had a miscarriage. Now, there are exceptions to this rule. For example, if it was an incomplete miscarriage and there is still products of conception in the uterus, then you would need to have a procedure first to remove that tissue. The same thing if you had to take methotrexate for an ectopic, there are some concerns about starting treatment too soon and the methotrexate still being in your body. But that's another discussion. The point here is every individual situation is unique, and you should consult your healthcare provider for your personalized advice in that situation. But in general, you can try right away. There is no medical need to have to wait. But as humans, we're more than just wanting to start again. We're not just physical, we're emotional. And that's where we have to talk about the emotional aspects of trying to conceive after a miscarriage. Grieving the loss of a pregnancy is a natural process, and everyone experiences it differently. It's crucial to give yourself time and space to heal emotionally before trying again. And not everyone's the same. Some couples may feel ready to try again soon after their loss, while others may need more time to process their feelings and regain their emotional strength to try again. There are multiple fears that can occur, not just of having another miscarriage, which is a huge fear of having that happen again, but there's also that concern of how long did it take you to get pregnant? If it took you 2 years to get pregnant and then you have a miscarriage, in your mind you're thinking, oh my God, it's going to be another 2 years till I get pregnant again, and you'll get scared. And so you may not be ready to jump back into this. You may need that emotional support in your doctor to help reassure you that things are going to be fine. It's also important to remember there's two people here. And so it's essential to communicate openly with your partner during this time, as both of you may have completely different emotional needs and expectations. It's not unreasonable to take a break from trying to conceive if you or your partner are not emotionally ready to start the process again. It's vital to prioritize your emotional well-being, as it can have a significant impact on your overall health, your future pregnancy, and your overall experience. The point is, we're not just these medical beings. We also have emotions, and it's important to take those into account. Overall, while there is no medical reason to wait to try for a baby after having a miscarriage, the emotional aspect plays a significant role in determining the right time to start after a miscarriage. And so it's essential to listen to your body, your emotions, your partner's feelings, as well as seek guidance from your healthcare provider to ensure that you're making the best decision for you and your family. There is absolutely no medical reason you can't try right again. And if that's good for you and your partner, go for it. However, if you need time to reflect on your feelings and the emotions of going through that miscarriage, then take as much time as you need. I think it's also important to know that this isn't just any miscarriage. It could be a chemical miscarriage. It could be a clinical miscarriage. All of them you can start as soon as you're able to shed your lining and have your next period. You do not medically have to wait several months to try again. But as we discussed emotionally, some people do need to wait, and that's okay. It's interesting. I myself have never been through a miscarriage. I actually worried about it many, many times. I almost lost my daughters when they were approximately 24 weeks. And in my head, I thought about, what would I do? My wife and I barely got pregnant. We may never get pregnant again. And it scared the hell out of me. Although I've never had it myself, I've taken care of many, many patients over the years who have miscarriages. And although I'll never be able to understand it directly, I can say I've seen many people deal with it in different ways. But always, it's harder for people who have infertility because it's not just losing a pregnancy, but the hope that you had, the journey you went through, is what was also lost. The good news is you're obviously strong. You've already started the journey of fertility. And so you can get back into it again. You can do another transfer, another IUI, whatever the treatment you need, and be able to have success again. And the good news is recurrent miscarriages that occur over and over are actually very rare. And if you do have that, obviously you need to speak to your healthcare provider. But for most people, a miscarriage will occur and then they'll go on to have successful pregnancies. As always, I hope you enjoyed this episode and this helped someone. If you ever have questions, feel free to reach out at tbft@newdirectionfertility.com, which is Taco Bout Fertility Tuesday. Also, if you love this podcast, please tell people about it. Give us a 5-star review on whatever medium that you're listening it to. As always, I'll talk to you next week on Taco Bout Fertility Tuesday.